What is up, YouTube people? It's your boy Patty McNinja, and if you're an older gamer like myself, this video is going to be kind of a bummer for you. I do have some bad news. The long-running video game magazine Game Informer, we just found out a few days ago that effective immediately, they are shutting their doors, which, of course, me being a gamer around the age that I am, which I won't share with you right now, I read Game Informer a lot growing up, and I have some thoughts about them shutting down, so I want to share them with you. So without further ado, let's rock. And for anyone that's not 100 years old like myself, basically a magazine is where they would print out part of the internet and just send it to you every month. You may have seen these at like checkout aisles at the grocery store. And for anyone that is less than 30 years old, the grocery stores are where the Instacart shoppers pick up your food before they bring it to you. And Game Informer is essentially the king of video game magazines. It was founded back in August 1991. Back then, it was bi-monthly. It didn't move to monthly until a few years later. And then by the 2000s, Game Informer was absolutely killing it. By the 2010s, not only was it the best-selling video game magazine, but it was constantly ranked in the top 5 best-selling magazines of any genre. And one of the main reasons why Game Informer, outside of just being a great video game magazine, was so successful in the 2010s was the fact that it was owned by GameStop, which I know sounds weird in 2024 to say something benefited by being owned by the original meme stock itself, GameStop, but it's true. You literally could not step foot in a GameStop in the 2010s without having 20 different employees ask you if you wanted to buy a Game Informer subscription. I literally had friends that worked at GameStop that claimed that they absolutely hated Game Informer because it felt like 99% of their job wasn't necessarily selling games, but it was their duty to sell Game Informer subscriptions or GameStop Pro memberships or whatever. Like they were always selling something that wasn't video games. And that over-aggressive style of selling Game Informer definitely worked on me. I loved going into GameStops when I was a kid. If I went to a mall and it had a GameStop, I knew right away I was walking in that store. So it was only a matter of time before they sold a subscription to Game Informer. And honestly, it's one of the rare times where I'm kind of glad that they sold something to me because I was obsessed with this magazine growing up. My school did this thing called silent reading where we would start each day by, I think it was like 20 minutes of, as the title would suggest, silent reading. And me being the nerd that I am, if I wasn't reading the new issue of Amazing Spider-Man, I was reading, or most likely rereading, the new issue of Game Informer. Now, there are literally games that I would have never known existed if it wasn't for reading my Game Informer growing up. And the poster child of that is a game called Project Snowblind. Now, don't feel bad if you've never heard of this game. It kind of came and went with not a ton of fanfare, but I remember Game Informer hyped this game up. I think it was the Batman Begins cover. They got me. I remember them doing a preview of this game and I just bought into the hype. I even went to my local GameStop, which of course would have helped Game Informer, to pre-order it and everything, which I don't really pre-order video games all that often. I did it less back then, so I was very, very hyped for this game. And unfortunately, it ended up being just an okay first-person shooter. It kind of had some BioShock stuff where you had like these different special abilities. Of course, it was before BioShock came out, but it was an okay game. So again, don't feel bad that you don't know about it, but I was just convinced that this was going to be the next big video game franchise because of the Game Informer coverage. And I don't want to kind of mislabel this video and go all out and say that Game Informer had this huge impact on me and that I wouldn't have this YouTube channel without Game Informer or anything like that. It's not that serious. I do want to level set a little bit, but It definitely played a role in my life as a gamer for sure. There's no way I would have ever pre-ordered Project Snowblind if it wasn't for Game Informer, and there was a bunch of other games just like it. This is just the first game that I thought of when I heard about this news. But this video isn't a nostalgic walk down memory lane. This isn't a happy video because, like I said in the intro, after operating for 33 years, Game Informer is being shut down. Kotaku has reported that the Game Informer staff were brought into a meeting on Friday, August 2nd with GameStop's VP of HR. In that meeting, they were told the publication was closing immediately. They were all laid off and they would begin receiving severance terms. The latest issue, 367, which featured Dragon Age the Veilguard as its cover story, will be its last. Game Informer magazine content director Kyle Hilliard took to Twitter to share that the team was 70% done with issue 368 and the cover was great. They even went as far as essentially wiping the Game Informer website. If you go to GameInformer.com, all you get is this farewell letter, which reads, "After 33 thrilling years of bringing you the latest news, reviews, and insights from the ever-evolving world of gaming, it is with a heavy heart that we announce the closure of Game Informer. From the early days of pixelated adventures to today's immersive virtual realms, we've been honored to share this incredible journey with you, our loyal readers. While our presses may stop, the passion for gaming that we've cultivated together will continue to live on. Thank you for being part of our epic quest, and may your gaming adventures never end." So I do want to note real quick that it is being reported that GameStop actually wrote this letter, not the Game Informer staff. So on its surface, it seems like a really sweet farewell letter. But if that report is to be believed, which I have no reason to suspect that it isn't, it rings a little sour to me because, I mean, it's GameStop. It's not the actual staff of Game Informer that wrote that. Now, if it is them, then that's really sweet. Yeah, it sucks that it happened, but at least they got to kind of say their goodbyes. But that doesn't seem to be the case. And obviously, this news really bummed me out. It actually hit me a little bit harder than I thought it was going to, because I'll be real honest with you, I don't remember the last time I thought about Game Informer, but when I heard they were shutting down, I was really bummed. And obviously, I was mostly bummed out for the people that lost their jobs. You never want to see anybody lose their jobs. I think that should go without saying, especially in this particular case, because it sounds like they didn't know anything about it and that they were done with like 70% of the next issue, and we're never going to get to see that issue. All of that hard work that they put into that issue, we're never going to see it. They didn't even apparently get to write their own farewell letter, so that seems a little shitty. So obviously, we don't want to see anybody lose their job, especially in a situation like this. But me personally, I feel bad on a nostalgic level just because, and I think this is just the way that life goes. But as I've gotten older, there's been more and more things that I loved growing up, like Game Informer, like E3, that are just kind of going away, that are just not going to exist anymore. And that really, really bums me out. But the rational part of me also understands that I'm part of the problem too. I don't remember the last time, not only have I subscribed to Game Informer, but I don't even remember the last time I bought a single issue of Game Informer. I just don't get magazines at all anymore. I do want to mention that they had this really amazing video game release calendar on their website, and I would constantly reference that, especially doing this channel. I do a lot of video game reviews, so obviously it was nice to have that resource. Video games are kind of notorious for moving around their release dates, and so it was kind of nice to be able to go to their website, Game Informer, and see all the video game releases for the entire year. It was super, super nice. Now, unfortunately, that website redirects to that farewell letter that I read you earlier. So that sucks, but it's just another thing from my childhood that has just died away. It bums me out, and I know it's a weird way to end the video, but I guess that's just how life works. But as always, those are just my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours in the comments down below. Of course, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like button, as the kids say. If you did enjoy the video, which I'm assuming you did if you've made it this far, definitely consider subscribing and dinging that bell. That way you're notified every time I post another video. I try to post weekly gaming related content, so if you like that type of content, definitely consider subscribing and ding that bell. But until next video, take it easy. What's up, YouTube people? It's your boy Patty McNinja, and this is my boy Yoshi, aka Kitty Boy, and we were just talking and we agree that since you made it this far in the video, you might as well subscribe. You wouldn't want to disappoint Kitty Boy, would you?